Bonjour. I'm a little late getting this one out. This is the Take Ready to Accompany Wednesday, April 1st. But since we're now going to start talking about dates in French, I would say que ceci est l'enregistrement Take Ready pour accompagner les leçons sur le 1er avril. Le 1er avril. Notice I say le, then I say premier. After the first, le premier, I can say le 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 31. Le 1er avril, et c'est un mercredi. Mercredi, le 1er avril. So we see les saisons. You can go down to this little 2RV1 module and practice with the clicks. This is, of course, le printemps. This is l'été. This is l'automne. And this is l'hiver. But you'll be hearing people saying not just summer, spring, fall, winter. You'll be hearing in summer, in spring. And to say in, you have different words based on the form of the French. So for le printemps, people say au printemps. That's the contraction of a, le, au printemps. So here we see a picture, au printemps. Here, to talk about in the summer, we use en. En makes the nasal sound, on. En été. En été. En automne. En hiver. Hiver commence par H, mais hiver se prononce hiver, comme si c'était une voyelle. So, winter has a silent H in front of it. Hiver. So, the three that start with a vowel get the en treatment. En été, en automne, en hiver, and then printemps is au printemps. And of course, the months of the year are pretty straightforward. Janvier, février, mars, avril, mai, juin, juillet, août. And then starting with September, it's just like in English, but you just change the ER to RE. Septembre, octobre, novembre, décembre. In this activity, you're listening for weather.
Chapitre 2. Vocabulaire 1. Activité 1. Quel mois? 1. Il fait chaud.
Il fait chaud. Il ne fait pas chaud en décembre. Et à Montréal, il ne fait pas chaud en avril non plus. En avril à Montréal, il fait frais. Still pretty chilly in April. So I would choose en juillet. Il fait chaud à Montréal.
2. Il pleut.
Il pleut. You should recognize from your new vocabulary, il pleut is how you say it is raining or it rains. Il pleut. So I would not choose en août or en janvier because I would be thinking, okay, what is the most common? And most of the time when I see pictures of April, I see April showers bring May flowers or spring flowers. So I'll say il pleut en avril.
3. Il fait frais.
Ah, il fait frais. So that means il fait, that's a way of setting up a weather condition. il fait frais. Il fait frais. Well, en février, il fait froid. Mais en octobre, il fait frais.
4. Il neige.
When does it snow? Il neige tells me it snows. Il neige. Il neige. Il ne neige pas en septembre. Il ne neige pas en mai. Il neige en janvier.
5. Il fait du vent.
Okay, here we hear il fait and then du vent. That is, it's windy. Le vent is wind. It's very similar to the word ventilation, ventilator, vent. Vent is how you pronounce it with the nasal in French. Il fait du vent. Oh, well, that's en mars.
6. Il fait beau.
Il fait beau. Well, en février, il fait froid. En novembre, il commence à faire assez froid aussi. En novembre, il fait très frais. Mais en septembre, il fait beau. All of these activities are allowing you to use for the first time the stock expressions that are presented to you at the beginning of the vocabulary lesson of chapter 2. So here, quelle saison et quel temps is prompting you to say which season and what weather, which weather, quel temps. Remember, temps in this context means like temperatures, weather, doesn't mean time. So here the model shows me à New York, so it's using that correct accent grave. À New York, il pleut souvent au printemps et en été. So maybe à Chicago, il fait du vent, I would say en hiver et au printemps. À Paris, il neige, I would say parfois en hiver. Sometimes it doesn't snow in the winter. À Miami, il fait lourd, I would actually say toute l'année, all year. But you know, I think that maybe I can just say en été et en automne. À Los Angeles, okay, now I have to give the temperatures. En hiver, là, il fait beau en hiver. À Montréal, il fait gris et il fait gris et il fait frais en automne. À Boston, il fait du soleil en été. Maybe il fait chaud en été. But it's never that warm in Boston. Il ne fait jamais si chaud que ça. I'll say, il fait bon en été. You see, you should go back to vocabulaire 1 and practice. What is important is that you just get it down to really easy stock phrases. Like you think, okay, il fait du soleil, as opposed to, il fait gris. Il pleut, as opposed to, il fait beau. Il fait froid, as opposed to, il fait chaud. Most of your weather expressions are set up with il fait. And then, of course, you have il y a as well when you're talking about il y a du vent or il y a du soleil. You can say for there is some wind or there is some sun, or il y a des nuages. Sometimes you can even switch into the verb être. Le temps est nuageux ou c'est nuageux. But for now, since it's a new structure, I would stick as close as I can to the use of il fait, and then you put in il fait du soleil, or it's sunny, il fait du vent, Il fait beau, il fait mauvais. And now you have two new expressions. It rains, il pleut. So maybe I'll say il pleut. And maybe I'll say for Montréal, il neige en automne. For it snows. La météo. Now in this one, you have to give the weather for this week. And I'd like to show you something. You can do weather.com, but instead of saying www, you do fr.weather.com, and you'll get the French forecast. You'll get little indices en français to help you. Okay. Voilà. Prévision pour Colombia. Alors, averse. You should recognize this from your lesson. Averse. So showers. Donc aujourd'hui, I could say il y a des averses, or I can say il pleut. Donc dans les 10 jours. Donc aujourd'hui, today, aujourd'hui, le 14 avril, il pleut. Demain, mercredi, il y a des nuages. Or I could say, il y a des éclaircies. Des éclaircies, it's partly sunny. Or to follow the book, il fait du soleil. And 21, il fait bon. Il fait beau. Avec quelques nuages. Jeudi, il fait bon. Il fait du soleil. Vendredi, since I read averse dans la matinée, all right, il pleut pendant la matinée, mais il fait chaud et gris pendant l'après-midi. Samedi, il fait beau et il fait du soleil. Dimanche, il fait un peu frais, c'est nuageux, ou il y a des nuages. Lundi, il fait beau, mais il pleut, etc. You just develop your own working vocabulary. And of course, it's relative. Sometimes I'll say il fait bon, where you would maybe think, oh là là, il fait un peu frais. There's some activities set here to work on the date. So for Halloween, we would say in French, c'est le 31 octobre. La fête nationale, c'est le 4 juillet. Noël, la plupart du temps, c'est le 25 décembre. I'm not thinking of the other Orthodox Christian faiths. Pour la Saint-Patrick, c'est le... Non, c'est pas le 14. C'est le 17 mars. La fête nationale en France, c'est le 14 juillet. Et la Saint-Valentin, c'est le 14 février. C'est quand votre anniversaire? Mon anniversaire. You'll be learning how to use possessives very soon. But for now, just write down mon anniversaire, c'est le 22 juin. Et vous? I can ask you guys, c'est quand votre anniversaire? That's a very oral register. Written, I would say, quelle est la date de votre anniversaire? Or if I do oral formal, c'est quand ton anniversaire? Or written, quelle est la date de ton anniversaire? Written informal. Quelle est la date? You'll start seeing quelle more and more. Quelle is translated into English, what is your birthday, or what is the date of your the anniversary of your birth. Remember, in the French mindset, and I'm sure that the French are not the only ones in the Latin-speaking world who think like this, l'anniversaire de la naissance. It's the anniversary of your birth date. It is not your birth date. You only get one of those. Les activités. Now, suddenly, we go from learning the expression for weather to learning about the verb aller. And aller is an irregular, so you have to learn je vais, tu vas, il va, nous allons, vous allez, il, elle, pluriel, vont. This activity helps you work through by contrasting pairs. In this one, it's pluriel as opposed to singulier à la troisième personne. This is la première contre la deuxième personne. And this is the vous, vous allez, as opposed to nous, nous allons. But perhaps the most interesting part of this is what comes after aller. Aller is one of those verbs that needs something. It's a verb of movement, and it needs a preposition if you're going to add on to it. It doesn't ever have a direct object. So you need this preposition. And the first preposition you're going to learn with aller is a. Yes, that a, accent grave. A. Now, where's my a? Voilà, a. But when you have a, for à Montréal, as we saw in the prior lesson, you don't do anything. And a, based on the context in English, actually can translate to in or at. But what if it's a and then plus le cours de sciences? Well, you do a contraction because the French don't like to see a le. C'est au cours de sciences. And if it's a plus la, then you leave it. There's no problem with that. À la bibliothèque. And then a plus L with a vowel stays as is as well. À l'école, à l'université, à l'appartement. And then, if it's a plus les, it becomes au. For example, au marché. Or actually, to talk about a flea market, the French will say le marché aux puces. Oh, if you go to many courses, many classes, au cours. So, these activities, où je vais, prompt you to decide whether it's à la salle de gymnastique or au café. Since you have à la, it forces you to choose salle de gymnastique. This little contraction business, it's a little detail, but it sets you as a scholar, as someone who has been trained academically, apart from someone who's just picking up the language and winging it by ear. And these are beautiful sentences. I would, if I were you, I would actually write these out to learn how to use the verb aller to talk about going to a place and just getting it, just getting the difference between saying le lundi, je vais à l'hôtel. Le samedi, je vais au campus. And I could say also, je vais au cours de français, as opposed to je vais à l'université. Le week-end prochain, je vais à l'université. I am not going then to au café, because it doesn't say AU. Le mercredi, je vais au cours du soir. Mardi prochain, je vais à l'appartement de mon ami. Donc, je ne vais pas au cours de biologie. Après le cours aujourd'hui, je vais à la salle de gymnastique. Non, pas au café. Le jeudi, je vais, so the AU is telling me I can't say à l'université, but au cours de musique. So I go to my music class. Cet après-midi, je vais à la, well I can't say l'école because it's la, à la bibliothèque. I have to choose the feminine that begins with a consonant. À la bibliothèque. Qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? Now, we're looking at aller, not as a verb telling us to go from one place to another, but a verb that also can fold into a complex or more compound sentence, not necessarily complex. It can be the first verb in a two-verb sentence that's taking us not to a place, but to the near future. So all I have to do to say my professor is going to work is say va travailler. So what are my friends going to do? Aujourd'hui, mes amis vont all my friends work. Mes amis vont travailler. Ma voisine va qu'est-ce qu'elle va faire? Elle va jouer avec son bébé. Les étudiants du cours de français et moi allons réviser les leçons de la module numéro 7. Ma camarade de chambre va écouter la radio française. Aujourd'hui, moi, je vais parler à un groupe de lecture. Aujourd'hui, mon professeur va corriger les copies, etc. So all of these sentences are sentences that are in the near future. That means that they are in the agenda and they're going to happen pretty soon. It's the near future. And there's a sense of immediacy in the near future. So I want you now to go back, continue reviewing your verbs with ER, and practice making sentences that pass from, in general, like j'étudie le mardi, to mardi prochain, je vais étudier, je vais jouer, je vais réviser mes leçons, je vais naviguer sur Internet, etc. So have fun with Boule de Cristal, where you give predictions for these different people. Like, for example, Prince William and Prince Harry. What are they going to do? Prince William va être bientôt papa pour une deuxième fois. Mais est-ce que Prince Harry va trouver l'amour de sa vie? Ok, bon courage.